Hello and welcome to the College Football Show Rivalry Week. This is Nick Roby and once again joined by Mr. Barrett Black. Barrett, how's it going? How
It's going great, man.
Yeah.
Going great. Not only is it Rivalry Week, it's Mustache Week.
Mustache Week, Power Stash Week.
Yeah, Power Stash. We're going to power through the rivals with our Power Stashes.
It's game face. You got to be game face on for this game, you know?
Dude, you like Mike Ditka. You look like Mike Ditka. You have a Mike Ditka-esque mustache.
Da Bears.
Da Bears.
Da Bears.
It's very thick and powerful. Your mustache.
Thank you. You have a very Western feel to yours.
Yeah.
Like feels like you just got off the range.
Yeah. I kind of feel like a 90s NASCAR driver, you know?
It's one of those two.
Yeah.
It's very manly.
Jeff Gordon in the 90s, you know?
I like it. Not a lot of stash people I've found out. It's either the full beard or not a lot of just straight stash.
These days especially, I mean, in the 2010s, I don't know anyone that's like...
Unless you're going full out hipster. Like you've already got the skinny jeans and you're already usually getting your fancy coffee. Like you got to go that. So we were doing No Shave November and, just thought little... Fire for a little Mr.
Manatee.
Manatee. All about the puns over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you thought, why not? So there you go. Just trying to do anything we can for the team.
Yeah.
Help them go. What stood out to you from this past weekend? What's been catching your eye now that we're
I feel like
here?
I mean, in general, there wasn't a ton of stuff that stuck out this past weekend. A lot of it just kind of went. I mean, there were a lot of teams playing maybe easier games, and then the biggest game went kind of how we expected it to. So surprises, I would say, definitely Arizona State and their offensive explosion against Oregon. I mean, their quarterback had an excellent game, and it was definitely. I was watching that one on pins and needles because it looked like Oregon was about to come back there in the end, but Arizona State was able to hold on, and that was a big, fun game. Sucks for Oregon. It killed their playoff chances, but...
It really does, and so really it comes down to the Pac-12 it's Utah. It's Utah or bust for them just because you can't... There's no one else you can really make an argument for.
And Utah will even be a hard argument because... they don't have any ranked wins, and I mean, if they beat Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game, they would have a ranked win. But then the next best team they've played, USC, they got beat.
They lost, yeah. Which USC is now ranked though.
They are now. They were ranked in this latest ranking, I think. They're 22.
Yeah, we're recording this after the initial playoff rankings this week, so we do have those updated.
Yep.
So there's a couple of those that have snuck in, but that whole debate will be really interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But that was probably the biggest unexpected thing of the weekend was seeing Oregon.
Yeah.
And it seems like I don't know if they were looking ahead or just Arizona State took them by surprise and just kind of.
That's just how the Pac-12 is, though.
Yeah.
I mean, literally in the Pac-12, I feel like anyone can beat anyone on any given week. You know, remember how UCLA's terrible, but then they still had like a couple of crazy big wins?
Yeah, I don't know. It's
in general, though, I feel like the Big 12 has kind of the better argument for the playoff right now than the Pac-12, especially with Baylor and Oklahoma being ranked in the top 10, and then they're going to play each other in 2 weeks. And, the winner of that will have a top 10 win. One surprise for me this week was that Baylor beat Texas so handily. Like, they just had control of the game. And honestly, I didn't think Baylor would beat Texas. I thought Texas would be kind of one of those, like, hey, we're still going to salvage our season, and we're going to ruin Baylor's season, but Baylor's like, nah, I'm taking care of business.
Yeah, I think it's just this season's just showing that Texas has just some more things they have to work on.
Yeah,
and just exposing some of that, which is really interesting.
Burnt Orange Nation was on fire after that game. Tom Herman was getting railed by Texas fans. I mean, they were pretty much saying it's a dumpster fire. So...
yeah, which I get it, but at the same time, it's like they won 10 games last year.
They won the Sugar Bowl.
I
mean,
and they're talking about the radio today that we just get a little too trigger happy these days. I mean,
all college football fans do.
Dabo Swinney in third year at Clemson, they were talking about today on 105.5 The Roar, was he was 6-7 in his third year.
Yeah.
In his third year after the
That's
interim.
crazy.
You know, and obviously, like, there are more questions, and he had a longer, leash is the word I'm looking for. He had a longer leash than someone at Texas. But Texas also, it's ever since Vince Young, I mean, and Colt McCoy, when they showed up in that national championship game, ever since he got hurt, they haven't really been that nationally relevant. So to even be back in the conversation, to really be back in the conversation, I think is something. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's the interesting thing of how this plays out is I honestly think that Baylor, now that I'm thinking about it, Baylor might actually be the best case for the Big 12 getting a team into the playoff. Because if you think about it, Oklahoma's been playing a lot of close games.
They've struggled.
And especially defensively, they've let teams be in the game. Their losses to Kansas State, which is not like a bad team, but of all these losses, you have to start looking at, okay, like, what makes you stand out? And Baylor's loss is a close loss at home to Oklahoma. Yeah. And if Baylor comes back, beats Oklahoma, and that's their one loss,
it would have
and then you start looking these off. I mean, I feel like, Baylor maybe even be better than Utah in this. And
honestly, I'm surprised that Utah. I guess it's because of where they were ranked last week. I'm a little bit surprised that Utah's ahead of Baylor and OU, and Minnesota for that matter. I mean, Minnesota has the best win out of them, against Penn State.
This is this week, if you haven't seen these yet, Ohio State's won. They jumped LSU because they beat Penn State.
Oh, wait, did they?
Yep.
Oh,
Ohio State.
Wow, I missed that.
Yeah, Ohio State's won. At least that's what I'm pretty sure I saw, is that they switched them.
Yeah, man. That's shocking.
Yeah, and it's because they beat Penn State, and that's what it was. Then I have LSU 2, Clemson 3, Georgia 4, Alabama 5, Utah 6, Oklahoma 7, Minnesota 8, Baylor 9, Penn State finishes out the top 10.
That is shocking to me. Ohio State's win over Penn State is a bigger win than LSU's win over Alabama with Tua.
And this is where this starts getting a little bit reactionary of the week.
Yeah.
Because I think that LSU's win is way better against Alabama than a Penn State team who Ohio State was an 18-point favorite. So actually they didn't cover the spread. They only won by 11. And the second half of the game, Penn State was playing with their backup quarterback. Yeah. And they were at home.
And they were coming back,
Right. Like, it wasn't like you felt like Ohio State was going to win, but Penn State was still in a puncher's chance the whole time.
Yeah, wow.
So it's very close, and I think really what this comes down to is I think the committee is also just saying it's just how these last games play out. Because you've got Ohio State plays Michigan, and LSU is playing Texas A&M, but they've both got the championship games in the conference, so they'll have big wins.
Honestly, this is a big deal for Clemson.
Yeah, who Clemson would play?
Yeah, who would you rather play, LSU or Ohio State?
I personally would probably rather play LSU first round.
Wow, I would much rather play Ohio State than LSU.
Well, here's the thing is that I think that we can match LSU strength for strength. I think I would, if I'm picking between these two. Really, it's kind of like for me as a fan, you're like, okay, sounds great. Where are we playing? Where are we going to go? It's true. But if I'm picking between the two, I think Clemson can, as a team. When I'm saying we as Clemson, like I feel more confident against LSU's defense than I do against Ohio State's defense. But at the same time, we'd be more worried about LSU's offense because they've got more dynamic. But Clemson has the speed to defend against that, and I feel like Venables can have that time. And I think if you're wanting to play, you have more time with the semifinal. When I'm thinking about it too, than you do the final. And I feel like you can come up with a scheme that's a little bit different. Yeah. So, and if you play 2 and 3, that means that you'd be playing in the Atlanta, I'm pretty sure. So that's a closer game too. Yeah. So, you're probably playing one of those two teams. So if I'm picking, I'd probably say LSU right now.
Yeah. Okay.
So there you go. I mean, and granted, and right now Georgia's 4, but I don't know if Georgia stays there. Honestly, that feels kind of like a placeholder. If they lose, I don't think they're gonna go.
Well, no. If they lose, they would have 2 losses, and there's no way they would go over any 1-loss team.
I think they'd put Alabama before they put Georgia.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Georgia would have 2 losses, one of them being to South Carolina, who Alabama destroyed. So,
but then it's the debate again, like a couple years ago when Alabama didn't go to the championship game, and it's like, do you put a 1-loss Alabama team in over a 1-loss conference champion? You know, then that's when you start to get to that debate, because I'm assuming, I mean, Alabama's the favorite against Auburn. It's only a 3.5 point spread, but you're projecting this as you think Alabama's going to win even without Tua. So then it becomes down to, okay, is Alabama, Utah if they win, or Oklahoma/Baylor? Because that's what it's starting to feel.
For sure. And I mean, if it came down to that, I really think the winner of the OU Baylor game, I would think, would have to be the one that would go in. But I mean, based on this committee, I mean, if they can put OSU over LSU, who knows what they could do?
Yeah, that's.
I mean, for all we know, Wisconsin could probably play for the number 4 spot. Obviously, I'm being facetious, but this committee has just been this year. Wow.
It's definitely different than in years past.
Yeah,
like I think in years past it was a little more predictable, and this year it definitely feels marquee wins feel like a bigger deal.
I feel like Heather Dinich must be sitting in the room and being like, "Hey guys, what if you did this?" To me, Heather Dinich knows nothing about football. But yeah, really surprised.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah.
Letdowns from this week, I would say, in Georgia, their offense, it just looks bad. I mean, they only put up 19 against A&M. That was pretty bad. I think Alabama scored at A&M like 40 something. I mean, it was a bad showing by the Georgia offense, and that's not the first time this year.
No, I mean, and Clemson only scored 24 against A&M, so A&M's not like terrible. But you're right, I had them down 2, and it's part of this is down 2 is because Texas A&M's a respectable team, but Georgia is starting to become a theme. Yeah, and if they really want to take this next step, like that's got to be fixed. You can't score 19 against A&M and just be that consistent if you're trying to really play against the LSU's, Alabama's, and Clemson.
I mean, they look so 1980s, you know, like they're run first, which is not as common these days, but they're truly run first. I mean, I want to see like what the split is, run to pass on their offense, but they run the ball a lot. Tosses, dives. I mean, it just looks very vintage, you know, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. It's definitely not the fun and gun or, RPO type stuff.
No.
They definitely haven't got there yet.
No, and so, I mean, and Georgia's playing LSU in the championship game, and so it makes me, I mean, the feel is that LSU's going to win, but the two styles are very opposite.
Yeah, and if Georgia pulls off that win, do they put Georgia and LSU in the playoff? Because obviously Georgia would be in the playoff. Do they put LSU in the playoff?
I think in that scenario they would.
I mean, I feel like they would have to. LSU would definitely be the next one. I mean,
because LSU's wins are. They've arguably some of the best wins.
Yeah.
And their one loss would be to Georgia, who is, they're now the conference champion.
Yeah.
I think that if that were the case, then you'd put Ohio State 1, Clemson 2, Georgia 3, LSU 4, because of that shakeup.
Yeah.
Which would then be interesting because then that would then mean Clemson would play Georgia and then LSU and Ohio State would play in the first round.
Yeah,
which that would be awesome. That would be pretty interesting. Awesome. Which then that would make me think, okay, maybe it'd be Clemson then the winner of that. But still, like that's an interesting. Basically, there's chalk options of the conference championship where we probably think Ohio State's going to win, probably think LSU's going to win, Clemson's probably going to win, and then I don't know. The other two I'm not as quite sure of, but you have those three as chalk options. If one of those three doesn't come through, then this gets really interesting.
Yeah, I'm ready for a shakeup, man. I wrote down since the playoffs started, how many times has it happened that 3 undefeated teams have made the playoffs, and it's happened one time. That was last year. The other years, I mean, there's generally only 1 undefeated team. Right now we have 3 undefeated teams. Is there going to be a shakeup? You know? I mean, it looks like there's not going to be, and that those teams are pretty much going to like ride 3 undefeateds. Will they ride it out, or are we going to see a crazy shakeup? I, obviously, as an Alabama fan, I'm hoping for some crazy shakeups, man. I need like several things to happen for my team to get in. But just as a college football fan in general, it is fun to see the underdogs lose or something like that, especially at the expense of like Clemson or Ohio State or something like that. It's always fun to see those bitter rivals lose.
Yeah, I mean, if this is the week's going to happen, it's going to be this week. We've got rivalry week, and you've got either these top-ranked teams that are going against each other, or you've got a top team versus the unranked team, but it's the in-state, it's the big dog, and you just throw all that stuff out the window, all the cliches. If you throw the records out the window and throw the spreads out the window.
I was thinking about that today, and really, I feel like in your rivalry, it doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, you guys have a 5-year streak now. They had a 5-year streak before. It seems like it's a pretty chalk rivalry, you know? Like, whoever's the better team usually wins.
It has definitely been in recent years.
Yeah.
Whoever's been, would seem like has been the better team or has had more of the upper hand has been the stronger team, and it hasn't mattered where you're playing as much either.
Yeah.
And personally, I kind of feel like that's kind of what's going to keep the ball rolling this weekend. I think it's just a matter of what the team looks like, how it kind of plays out. And you never like going as a fan playing on the road at Williams-Brice, but it seems like it's a year where this could be it's a good year to go there.
Yeah.
Just from the way the year's kind of played out.
I mean, obviously for Alabama, number one, we're only favored by 3.5 over Auburn. This is the closest line I can remember in an Alabama game in a long time. I mean, even for the Clemson game last year, I think we were favored 6 or 7. For the LSU game, we were favored 6 or 7, somewhere in between 6 or 7. 3.5, that's a really close line for an Alabama game. So I'm really surprised. A lot of people aren't trusting Mac Jones. We'll see though, man. The dude can throw the ball. It's more about can he get protection long enough to throw it, because Auburn's defensive line is obviously incredibly good. Who do you think has the highest likelihood to actually lose out of this week's games? I think Alabama.
Out of these week's games, who's the best chance to actually lose?
I think Alabama has the best chance to lose, but I mean, outside of Alabama.
Outside of Alabama, the best chance to lose, I would say, would be Wisconsin.
You think so?
Well, Minnesota, Wisconsin, because Wisconsin's the favorite, and you kind of expect, okay, Minnesota's lost, and it kind of feels like, okay, Wisconsin's the better team, like at least in this game. That's what it feels like to me. But
that's true. I feel like they could.
But if Minnesota wins out and say they beat Wisconsin, that's a huge win.
Yeah.
Then they beat Ohio State, which not likely, I don't think. But if they do, I mean, they'd be in the playoff.
Yeah, for sure. They would be in the playoff. I think Oklahoma has a pretty good chance to lose. I mean, granted, they've owned Oklahoma State.
But these games are always crazy. Yeah. Like, these are like some crazy shootout type of a game in Bedlam.
I think the way that they've been playing the past couple weeks and the way that Oklahoma State has managed to get some pretty big, wins in the past couple weeks, Oklahoma State could mess around and upset their bitter rival.
And it's at home.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma State's known for having a very potent offense. And Chuba Hubbard has been dynamic. Yeah. I mean, he leads the nation in rushing.
Yeah.
Oklahoma is still trying to tackle people.
Yeah.
So it's It's out there. That's not a bad one. It's 13.5 points right now, but I mean,
which is huge.
That feels a little big. If I'm being honest,
huge. I mean, Oklahoma has played 3 one-score games in the past week where they very easily could have.
I would have thought it'd been like a touchdown.
Yeah,
you know, something like that. A touchdown or 8, but I don't know. Other big games. I've got some other big games to watch. We can do some pick'ems in a second. Was there anything else you wanted to like hit on before?
No, I was going to go to look.
You want to go pick'ems? Okay, let's just go ahead. We were talking about this before. There's so many games to talk about this weekend. It's so full, and it's so crazy in comparison to the week before because the week before was just a lot of prepping for this weekend.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to start on Friday, which gets a little crazy. We've got a couple interesting ones. First one, I'm going to go Virginia Tech UVA.
Yeah.
It's
for the Coastal.
For the Coastal Division.
Yeah.
The winner of this actually gets to win the division.
I know.
We're declaring it. Somebody has to win. So it's at UVA. UVA has just not beaten Virginia Tech in a long time.
Yeah. Virginia
Tech is now ranked number 24. So there's another ACC ranked team, which this is huge because Clemson needs to play somebody ranked in the ACC.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech's a 2.5 point favorite. It's at UVA. Who are you taking in this?
Dude, honestly, I have no idea. But my gut feeling is that Virginia Tech wants it more, you know? Mm-hmm. But I kind of want Virginia to win so that it could be 7 years, 7 different
I know,
wins.
if they win, it'd be a 7 different winner.
Like I kind of want that to happen.
I know.
But at the same time, it just feels like Virginia Tech has they've come a long way since the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. We'll see if they can put together a complete game.
Yeah. You know, it is kind of a toss-up game, but you know what? I'm going to shout out to my friends Alex and, you know, their son Bennett, who was on our podcast last year, if you got to listen to that, where he picked games. They're huge Hokies fans. So I'm going to go Hokies in this. I feel good about that, plus because I also want to beat them in the championship. So,
yes.
And I you're right. I feel better about Virginia Tech than I do UVA. But it'll be really interesting. Just another interesting one, Cincinnati and Memphis is 18 and 19. It's
for the group of 5 leader.
Yeah, I mean it's a big game. I mean, what are you thinking in that? Just like what's a gut feeling in that one?
Gut feeling is Memphis. I mean, Memphis' offense has been pretty potent this year. They're favored by 11, which is that's a big line.
Yeah, it's a big line.
It's at Memphis. Is it a Friday game?
It's a Friday. This is another Friday game.
Friday
3:30.
So 3:30. That's awkward.
It's a weird time, but people are off, so I think that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, but I mean, Cincinnati's also been excellent. Granted, that's the reason they're ranked number 19. So I feel like Memphis, but I really don't know.
Yeah, my gut's kind of telling me Memphis. I don't have a great feel on this either, but Memphis is a strong offense. I think these two could play again in the conference championship. I think I would have to double check that, but I like Memphis in that too. I feel good about the Tigers. Let's see. Obviously, Clemson, South Carolina is a big one. I mean, we're on the road. We're 27.5 point favorites, which, give or take, I'm not sure how the game feels.
I like Clemson to cover in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it feels close. It's one of those games where it feels like it could be above or under of what it could actually be. But I never feel comfortable in these games of this still feels high. But I could see us covering, especially with some injuries. Unfortunately, South Carolina has. They're not at full strength.
Yeah.
So I think that. Let's go Ohio State, Michigan. Ohio State. It's at Michigan.
Yeah.
Now that they're number 1, they're 8.5 point favorites. What do you like on that one?
Yeah, I think Michigan's actually still not that great. I mean, they got a good defense. Their offense has never been, much to write home about. I think you got to have a pretty stout offense to beat Ohio State because they're going to score points on you. I don't care how good your defense is. Ohio State's going to put up points. I don't think it's a close game.
Yeah, I think Michigan keeps it close early, but Ohio State's just too dynamic. And the strengths of Ohio State, I think, really hurt Michigan and what it is. Because you got the pass rush, which Shea Patterson, the quarterback for Michigan, has been better. I mean, they scored 39 against Indiana.
Yeah.
But the strength of Ohio State is on that front four, especially Chase Young.
Yeah.
Especially the running backs and I feel like he's gonna be hearing footsteps a lot too, a lot of errant throws. So, and then Justin Fields and those guys are just so dynamic that it's just.
I don't think it'll be as bad as last year when Ohio State like really lit them up to the tune of like 60-something points.
No, it's not gonna be like that.
But I don't think it's a close game for sure.
No. Let's go. Let's see. We'll go Bedlam, Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. Like we were saying, it's 13.5 point favorite. Who are you taking? Are you going Pokes?
I'm thinking Pokes.
You're thinking
I'm thinking Pokes are gonna to really be the one to finally pull off this upset that all the teams have been trying for the past few weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pokes can do it.
Pokes can do it. Okay. I'm gonna go Oklahoma just because they keep winning these close games.
Yeah.
So, but it's gonna be like 49-46.
Yeah.
And coming down to a missed field goal. I think Oklahoma State's going to drive and miss a field goal. That's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah.
But it's 13.5 is too high. So if you're a betting person, I would bet on Oklahoma State to cover. We can finish with your game since that's probably the closest matchup. Texas A&M's playing LSU, which if you remember last year was the crazy overtime game where A&M actually won, and it was like 72-70 or something like that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
LSU's a 16.5 point favorite, and the reason I put it on here is because they are number 2, and it feels like it could be a look ahead game for them because they've got their eye on the playoff and these other things.
I think after the way that A&M played Georgia this past week, I can't imagine that they look ahead. And I think LSU beats them by probably 3 touchdowns, I would say.
Yeah. I put it on here because I think it could be, but I don't think it's happening. And especially because A&M won last year. And it's a bitter taste. And LSU feels like they're on a mission.
Yeah, for sure. They're on a mission, man. They're trying to make big things happen.
Yeah.
What about Wisconsin at Minnesota?
This is probably the toughest. If I was going to pick a game, that's something that the hardest one to get a feel for because it's which Minnesota team shows up.
Yeah.
Because Wisconsin, you kind of know what you're going to get, and it's a matter of can you stop Jonathan Taylor. I mean, that's it. They're not playing secrets about it. Minnesota is dynamic in the passing game if they're on, but if they're off, granted they lost to Iowa. I'm going to take Minnesota in this.
I'm going to take Minnesota as well.
And the key reason why, it's a home game.
Yep.
It's game day. They're going to be ready to go.
For sure.
Like, I think it's just like, this is it.
Yeah.
I think they do it.
I think that Wisconsin only being able to run the ball is going to hurt them in this one. I could see Minnesota getting ahead like they did against Penn State.
Yeah,
and then Wisconsin not being able to catch up because they're ground and pound.
I could see it being like 14-0, 21-7.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin's not a come from behind team.
Correct.
And if they get behind, then they're going to have to start throwing the ball more, and it just will throw them off their rhythm.
Yeah,
so I think
Minnesota winning winning the Big Ten West.
I see it happening playing Ohio State. That'll be which that's a huge accomplishment for them, and they should be very proud of that if they do that.
That'd be great.
And then, all right,
Alabama and Auburn.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Tigers and Tide.
It's obviously a bitter rivalry. There's no streaks since 2000. I think 2008 we broke their 6-game winning streak over us, and since then it's just been kind of like 2 games here, 1 game there, 2 games here, 1 game there. It's a total toss-up. You don't know how Mac Jones plays in big games yet. He has the talent. He's a very talented quarterback. He's got great arm strength, and he can throw a deep ball, which is great. If he gets time, Auburn can be susceptible to the pass. But the question is, does he get time? Auburn has a great front, 4 that are going to push that offensive line back. Man, it's going to be a really tough game. I think Alabama wins because Auburn doesn't have a ton of offensive firepower. They've had games where they've been explosive this year, like against Mississippi State and Arkansas. But Alabama was also, it's Mississippi State and Arkansas. It's hard not to be explosive against them. I think Alabama wins it.
Yeah.
But close. It's going to be a close game.
Is Ruggs back? Is Henry Ruggs back? Can be back for this game?
He sat out this past week. He has bruised ribs. I feel like
it's
he'll
Auburn.
go.
I feel like it's like if you can put on pads, like I feel like you're gonna play
for sure. We have some defensive questions out there. I haven't looked up to see the injury update this week, but we had like 4 defensive linemen that were sitting out last week. So we'll see if they're back as well.
Yeah, and I think the key for this is I'm going Alabama too, and it's because of those wide receivers.
Yeah,
because really what you're asking Mac Jones to do is not necessarily a game manager, but being a distributor, like being like a
get
point
the ball
guard.
in their hands.
Just put it in Najee Harris's hand. Like they're getting a lot of runs for him, and quick decisions for Mac. And honestly, and here's the thing too, is that Bo Nix hasn't also proven that he can be consistent. You don't know what you're going to get out of him, and he could light him up and be a ball game.
Yeah,
or he could throw 3 or 4 picks, and it's just you just don't know. And I think that Alabama's weapons on the outside are the most consistent.
I think one thing that the national media forgets about Alabama are the weapons. They think like, oh, Tua's down, and they forget that we have 4 players, 4 receivers on the team who will be first and second round draft picks.
Yeah.
I mean, get it in those guys' hands, and I think that they could do big things.
Yeah, it's going to be a close, hard-fought game.
Yeah.
But I see Alabama pulling it out. So, a very full weekend.
Yep.
A very full weekend. Lots of turkey, a lot of excuses to hang out and watch football. I'm looking forward to it. So, there you are.
Yeah, I got to mention my least favorite thing happens during this week every year. I love Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday. But since 2013, Thanksgiving has a little bit of a bad taste in our mouth because the kick 6 replay is played about 1,000 times during this week. 2013, when Auburn won on the last second, missed field goal return for a touchdown that kept Alabama from going to the national championship for the 3rd year in a row. That replay gets played so many times during this week.
Well, it's been a few. I mean, they won. I think they won a couple years ago. I think they won in
2017.
2017, yeah. But since then, that was the other win.
Yeah.
And so
and some friends and I were talking about some of the biggest plays in college football history, and I mean, kick 6. We were on the losing end of that, but that happens to be one of the biggest plays in college football history. I mean, you think about the band being on the field and the I think Stanford game. You think about the Doug Flutie Hail Mary. These are big things that stick out in college football fans' heads.
It's always when the underdog beats the big team. I mean, Vince Young scoring against USC.
Yeah. And I mean, kick 6, that sent Auburn to the national championship game, So
yeah, there you go.
Crazy.
I don't know, but I think you'll take the championships over the kick 6. Though.
I'll take the championships.
Yeah, I figured that's what you would say.
Yeah, man. So happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy with your family. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate you guys. So thanks so much, and stay tuned. We'll see you next time.